So our next question is, there is a fake ego that wants to get enlightenment, but why in Buddhist literature do we have different levels of enlightenment?
Yes, it is very important to have a thick ego to attain enlightenment. It is really important that you feel that I want to become enlightened. It's extremely important. It's advised, and it is one of the ways how you can become enlightened. So you can read in Bhikkhuni Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, chapter 4, a story where Venerable Ananda is seduced by a nun, but Venerable Ananda doesn't allow her to seduce him. So when Venerable Ananda visits the nun, he finds out that the nun actually wanted to seduce him. And he tells the bhikkhuni, the nun, that there are 4 ways how this body arises again. And at the same time, these particular 4 ways can be used so that this body does not arise again. We are talking here about birth, about rebirth. So 4 things. 4 things. What are they? They are greed. Then, food, greed, conceit, and sexual intercourse. When there is food, new body can arise again. When there is greed for a new existence, new body can arise again. When there is conceit, then of course there's conceit is based on the craving for existence, then there arises body again. Sexual intercourse leads to arising body again. And Venerable Ananda explained that you can actually use food, greed, and conceit for getting rid, for stopping, for cessation of arising the body again. Sexual intercourse, however, Venerable Ananda explains, has been disapproved by the Buddha, and the Buddha has destroyed all of the ideas that sexual intercourse could lead to cessation of suffering. So we are talking about these 3. So how do you use food to stop arising of the body? By considering the food. When you get the food, you can consider the food that it is repulsive. When it comes in the mouth, it is repulsive. Nobody wants to eat the food that you have already put into your mouth. After you swallow it, it's also repulsive. After it comes to the stomach, it's also repulsive. After it enters the intestines, it's also repulsive. After it leaves from the body during defecation, it is also repulsive. So the food is repulsive. When you realize that all of this body is made up of this food, which is repulsive, then probably you will realize that everything that is here, which you may crave for, is dependent on something repulsive. And therefore, it is not desirable, and therefore you get free from craving and achieve Nibbana. Second thing, craving. And Venerable Ananda here specifically uses the word tanha, craving, exactly the same word that the Buddha uses in the 4 Noble Truths as the cause of suffering. Tanha. Tanha can be used for arising of another life. We call it kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. 3 kinds of tanha mentioned by the Buddha when he explained the 2nd Noble Truth. But you can also use tanha for enlightenment. You will need a strong ego for that. But we will come to the strong ego in the 3rd case, where we talk about conceit. So, Venerable Ananda explains, suppose that someone comes to you and says, you know what? That person meditated and became an arahant. And you hear these news and you think, that person became an arahant? I also want to become an arahant. And then you meditate and work hard and become an arahant. That's what Venerable Ananda said. But this is, anyway, it seems that this is coming from the Buddha himself. It's just that maybe the Buddha told it to Venerable Ananda alone, I don't know, and then Venerable Ananda told it to someone else. So then we have conceit. Okay, so suppose that someone comes to you and says, that person became an arahant. And you think, what? That person became an arahant? Then I will also become an arahant. And we even have a story like this in Myanmar. In Myanmar, a man who could not read books, he could not read, he could not write, and that man followed a meditation instruction on breath, on mindfulness. He had a teacher. It seems that this was a Ledi Sayadaw's lineage. He had a teacher. He followed the meditation instruction. He meditated, and he became an arahant, an illiterate person. He could not read. He could not write. Okay, so we have that person. That person became an arahant. And later in Myanmar, there was a thief. And this thief, he had the habit to steal things. Some things he would give to Sangha, because thieves can give things to Sangha, and some things he would use for himself. And one day he heard the news. That person became an arahant. And he found out that that person was illiterate. The person, Venerable Sunlun Sayadaw, I'll write it for you so you can Google it. Sunlun Sayadaw's biography is available for free as a PDF. You can Google it and read it. Very excellent reading. So Sunlun Sayadaw was illiterate. He became an arahant. Now this thief was not illiterate. He could read, he could write. And he thought, if that person could become an arahant, then I also can become an arahant. His name was I don't know. I think that the name will come to my mind later. So this very famous Burmese monk, whose teachings, unfortunately, is not translated in English, so it's available only for the Burmese. This monk thought, okay, so if an illiterate person can become an arahant, I can become also. So he started to meditate, and he became an arahant. So he had this strong ego, and through that strong ego, he became an arahant. So it is very good if you have a strong ego. You just need to deflect it from causing new bodies into not causing new bodies. And that is also why we have 4 levels of enlightenment. You actually get rid of your ego by attainment of the 4th level. Until even those who have achieved the 3rd level of enlightenment still are conceited. The 1st level of enlightenment gets rid of your conceit to the level that you will never kill, steal, commit adultery, tell lies, or drink alcohol. But you still have enough conceit to compare yourself with others and to be angry with others and to even be lustful. 2nd level of enlightenment will reduce your greed and hatred, but still you will have some. 3rd level of enlightenment gets rid of this conceit that results in lust or hatred, but it still has the kind of conceit that believes the deeper levels of concentration are actually pleasurable and that they are actually good to be attained. So there's still this conceit. The Buddha says, no, they are impermanent. But the anagami, the so-called non-returner, still believes that it is worthy, it is worth it, that it is worth it for him to achieve those levels of jhanas, and therefore he falls into the so-called laziness. But anagami's laziness is a little bit different thing than what we know in the world, and he dedicates himself to the jhanas instead of observing the impermanence and unsatisfactoriness and not self in the body and the mind. So that is why you have there the ego. The ego needs to be gradually cut off until you cut it off entirely.
Thank you, Bhante.